All right. Well, going to go ahead and jump in and welcome everybody. I'm Dina Jensen. I'm the director of the Center for Nonprofit Leadership at California Lutheran University. And today is truly an example of it takes a village to gather our community. We are co-convening today's session with our friends and colleagues at the Ventura County Community Foundation, and really focusing today's discussion on planned giving strategy and our organization's readiness to do that, to start that and to do that well. So we've assembled some really great minds, some great voices, and we're delighted to spend this time together today. We're going to be welcoming a few more of our colleagues as they get settled, but in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and jump into our agenda. I'm co-hosting this with my friend and colleague, Jeff Lambert. He and I have been kind of the backbone of this conversation. We're going to be introducing some really amazing people to you today, some of our colleagues and peers, and then our newest friend, Sue Nunn. Nate's going to drop in the chat box right now our agenda for today's session, which also includes the formal bios for all of our speakers. So in the instance that you'd like to know a little bit more about who we all are, you'll find those in the chat box link to the PDF. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over, just ask Jeff if he wants to say a quick welcome, and then we'll hand it over to Vanessa to get us started.
I will say a very quick welcome, Dina. Thank you very much. And just wanted to thank you. You did all the heavy lifting to get us here. I really appreciate that. I know you're almost a one-person shop. I'm so glad that Nathan joined your team, or Nate. That's exciting now. And I want to welcome everybody here. This is a great opportunity for us to partner with all of you to help grow philanthropy in Ventura County. And with that, I'm happy to turn it over to our fearless leader, Vanessa Bechtel.
Well, first of all, this could not be more critical and more timely for Ventura County in terms of the topic and strategies and things that we can all do together. This is one of the most transformational ways that we can all be of service to our community, and especially to those that are really stuck in this shared world of ours, in increasing disparity, climate change, so many of the big, picture items and things that we're going to have to deal with together. If we're going to make a real dent in all of this, the transfer of wealth is where it's at, because this is our largest opportunity to best support our nonprofit sector together. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I just want to remind us all, where are we? Where have we been? Many of you were here together back in March, and we talked about our collective opportunity, Ventura County's historic wealth transfer. And during that time, we shared that thanks to the incredible research of Dr. Jamshid Damui with Cal Lutheran University, we now know that more than $207 billion are changing hands in Ventura County in the next 45 years. That is a lot of money in estate transfers that will be happening. By 2027, starting, based on March, right? So starting in March, more than 600 million will be transferred to charities through estate planning. 600 million. We would love to all work together to keep those dollars here locally. Of course, at the same time, we recognize that the divide between the wealthy and poor continues to grow. And I know I'm not alone in just recognizing the fact that in working with our donor clients, many of them are much better off than they were prior to the pandemic, whereas we continue to see the growing disparities happen in those that are the most vulnerable. So we have to continue to really work together to help be of service and help to create opportunity for our community. When we break that down, here's that $230 billion broken down into decades or time periods. And so you can see that this is not an opportunity that will be going away. And in fact, over these next decades, it will continue to grow, and then it will dramatically fall off. So it's an opportunity that is long-term in a way, but also one that if we miss, we've really missed. And this is the potential for nonprofits in Ventura County if just 5% of that is given to charity. And actually this we know is very likely. Whether it stays locally is really up to us. So we asked two key questions back in March, and we were talking about that as a group. And the first is, will this transfer of wealth create philanthropy that will invest in Ventura County's nonprofit sector? And I'll tell you, the reason why I feel so happy and optimistic about this meeting today is that we are seeing a huge increase in estate planning and charitable planning in our clients since the start of the pandemic in the donor community. We also asked, how can our nonprofit and philanthropic community work collectively with donors, funders, and nonprofit agencies and foundations to best position Ventura County for this historic wealth transfer? And that's why I'm so excited about our partnership with the Center for Nonprofit Leadership, and also so excited for you to meet Sue Nunn today. I think Sue is going to be a huge gift to Ventura County, and we are super excited about Sue, you being here today, and for these next 12 months together. I just also want to remind you that we're not alone. Together, and your community foundation is absolutely here to serve and be of support to you. We're here to be your advocate. We're here to help remove barriers. We're here to help connect people to your organization. We engage in planned giving. We're doing so much planned giving that this year, I'm actually helping to put 5 people from my team through the Certified Planned Giving Specialist designation in Long Beach. We also are helping to grant funds to nonprofit organizations that want to develop that internal expertise as well. And so if that is of interest to you, I hope you'll reach out and definitely let us know. Working with complex assets, that's a real specialty of ours. And frankly, we're seeing an uptick in that. In the last couple of years, we've received a manufacturing company. We have an industrial complex that will be transferred. These are types of apartment complexes. These are the types of complex assets that many of our nonprofits might benefit from having support, and your community foundation is here to support you with that. Endowment building, obviously support and collaboration partnerships, helping to promote your efforts in our community. I hope you're all getting our newsletter. If you're not, please let me know. But bottom line, we'll not go through every example. I just want to say that when it comes to planned giving and planned giving programs, it's not all long-term. A lot of planned giving also includes current tax and financial planning work that will also help benefit your organizations today as well. So these are short and long-term opportunities, and ones that we just can't let slip by, which is why I just want to say thank you again for making this such a high priority. I'm including Nathan's information. I've also dropped my own personal email in the chat. And this is, of course, the VCCF, Nathan. Nathan from Cal Lutheran, or Center for Nonprofit Leadership, welcome. We love working with Nathan, so we'll love working with you too. So with that, I will turn it over, but just again, thank you. This is an exciting time, especially right now in this period of economic volatility. Don't be shy. Our donor clients are in need of advice, help getting connected to advice, and there are huge opportunities.
Thanks, Vanessa. We're a little bit too large today to do a full round of introductions, but we also know that it's important to stay connected to one another. So we're going to have a little short introductory breakout. You're going to be in a room with 2, 3, maybe 4 of your colleagues, but really we'd like to invite you to introduce yourselves. Hopefully you'll meet a couple new people or see an old friend. And we'd also like to encourage you to share as a group an expectation for today's conversation, whether that be, I'm really curious about how to get a planned giving program started, or we have this particular set of strengths, but I'm not sure how to manifest that into planned and deferred gifts. But this is an opportunity to really lay the framework for today's conversation to make sure that your expectations are met. And then if anything is outstanding, that we can follow up from there. So Nate Swanson's going to go ahead and open up the rooms. We're going to take about 10 minutes for you to do a round of introductions in those small groups. We'll bring everybody back, and then we'll introduce everybody to Sue. Okay, Nate.
You will.
Okay, I'm restarting our recording as folks are getting back from their introductory breakout. Thank you very much for sharing that time together. Just have a quick minute while those breakouts close. Get to see some faces we haven't seen for a while. Excellent. Terrific. A good sign when it's slow for everybody to come back. So before we make the transition and introduce you to our colleague Sue, just wondering if anybody just would like to popcorn and share with us anything that came up in your introductory breakouts or expectations that your group might have for today's discussion. I practiced the Brene Brown count to 15 thing, so we can stare at each other, or somebody could be brave. Sue, go! Excellent.
Okay, well, our group really had three things. We had me with the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library, just wanting to absorb everything I can learn so that we can set up an infrastructure for this with the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library. And Andrew with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and he has a great infrastructure.
Hi, Rebecca. This is Claudia.
But he would like to learn about keeping planned giving at the forefront of everybody's minds, particularly all those board members who are having coffee and lunches with donors, so that it doesn't just slip away. And then also thinking about keeping it simple. That was Tracy's point, how to just keep it simple so people just don't glaze over and say, oh, okay, with planned giving. So did I get it, group? Okay.
Sounds great. Anybody else like to pop in with anything else? Aaron, please.
Yeah, one thing that I've found really helpful with these sort of gatherings is to, when you find a connection with someone, just to like grab their email and follow up. Like I started volunteering with an organization out in Ojai, and it was from a Coffee and Connections event at VCCF. I mean, these are, to me, great opportunities to connect with organizations and individuals that I wouldn't meet otherwise. So really grateful for that.
I remember watching that unfold. So I was excited to hear that you made that connection. So that's terrific. Okay, time for one more. Anybody else want to either throw a question or something that's, bringing you curiosity? Jill, please.
I didn't want to say this, but I would be just curious if anybody wanted to respond to this. I try not to go there too much, but there is this lingering anxiety about the future, right? So like we're talking, this is really great that we're talking about this possibility, but there's part of me that's like, my heart is breaking for the future. And I just didn't know if anybody wanted to react to that.
I'm gonna say I hear you and see you and feel it big time. I see a lot of nodding heads for certain.
I will definitely say that absolutely. There's a report by the Monitor Institute on the future trends of philanthropy, 2020s and beyond. And it's for those that are interested, it's a great report. And I will only say that I get optimistic about taking action, because I think it would be a lot easier to do with the 600 million in the bank to deal with as a county than to not, right? So I think that this is a really great positive step that we can do to collectively together. But I always think 500 to 600 more million in the next 7 years would help and make it easier to deal with, right?
Sure. But also an important invitation to be mindful of each other's wellness, Jill. So thank you for putting that out into the group, because I think it's been a long few years. Important that we take care of ourselves and each other, as well as we do the people and animals and climate that we all care so much about. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer to our keynote speaker, Sue Nunn, who is our newest friend here in Ventura County, but is absolutely not a stranger to planned giving or nonprofits or fundraising or helping mobilize great people to do great things. So she has has 15 years as a YMCA professional, so she's definitely one of us, has been in the trenches. And now she's the president of Endowment Horizons, founded in 1986. And Endowment Horizons has been doing planned giving, endowment development, and major gifts development strategies with lots of organizations globally. Vanessa met Sue, and then I was brought into the conversation about some of the magic that she has helped organizations with their own ingredients and their own donors and their own being. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience, her practice, what makes for planned giving readiness, and how we all are on that spectrum, and how we can take those next steps. So Sue, welcome to Ventura County. It's really a delight to introduce you. Hopefully you'll find a lot of inspiration with our colleagues here, and we're looking forward to working with you. So take it away.
Great, thank you. And I get calls, and thanks for the introduction too. It's planned giving is something that my husband started back in 1986. He was a Boy Scout exec, retired Boy Scout exec. And it's something that was always on our agenda to work on, either endowment or planned giving or something, because there was these crazy laws that came out in 1969 and people just didn't know what they were. And looking backwards, we see changes on a regular basis. But I always get a call that says, hey, can you, I want to do planned giving because that's where the money is. I want to do endowment work because that's where the money is. When in reality, planned gift is a way is the road that takes you to the fund where the gift ends up. So just that's my definition and how we look at it. So I'm sharing my screen. I want to make sure I only share the one. Yes, just the one. Okay, great. So we always look at planned giving as being a way to help make us strong today, tomorrow, and forever. And then what makes a planned giving program successful? And I think every organization is so different. But there are some key things that I believe bring the structure. First, you have to be committed to doing a long-term program, because if you think about it, your own assets, and then if you want to give your asset, one of your assets, your house, your retirement funds, things that you have created your whole adult life, maintained, and now thinking about distributing, the decision is not made in a room like a $500 gift would be. So you have to be committed to that long term and know that it's not going to happen today or tomorrow, but definitely if you work with the right people, it will happen over a period of time, and timing is different for everyone. Then you have to have the discipline to be able to do that, because it is long-term. It is so easy to put planned giving, anything that's not a cash equivalent. It's so easy to put that on the back burner because it can be intimidating for us. I know as a Y exec, I was worried about ruining relationships. And so I would always put it off, but you have to have that discipline. And then a plan. And this is the one key thing. Some organizations will say, let's just have a spaghetti dinner and we'll raise the money we need. Or I get that a lot at churches, by the way, but, or we're going to sell this. I love this one. A good friend of mine, we're going to sell all the board members a $100,000 life insurance policy. They're going to purchase the policy. And when they pass, we're going to get that money. that person's usually in insurance and likes the idea of selling everyone an insurance policy. So having a plan that works, and this is something that since 1986 we have done. It involves involving your donors, getting them involved in the organization tours, educating them on what's happening with your organization, helping them understand or be volunteers or whatever works for involvement for them. That's what you want to do. You want to get them involved. If they're not involved in your organization and they've never been involved in your organization, but they have that last name that makes you think they have money, it's better to put your time into the people who are involved in your organization and then educating them on the various ways of how to give. And that can be done in many different ways. But finding that the opportunity to educate them on benefits and consequences of planned gifts. And then this is where, when you start having these conversations, you're on a journey with this donor, and you get to the point where you're helping them with the selection of the right gift for them. And it can be as simple as, and I know, Vanessa, you said there were some people in the planned giving, the certification for a planned giving specialist. You don't have to have that to know the very basics of a charitable gift. So I encourage you all to learn even some of the very basics, to know that if I make a gift and I can keep a stream of income, or my kids can get a stream of income to go to college, and then the gift is made, then you can easily say, if I can help you find a way to make a charitable gift and to put your kids through college, would you be interested in seeing that, how that would work? Then you can paddle really hard and go to the community foundation and get the information you need and present it the next time as you're sailing across the water. So it looks smooth, but you know where you have the right resources. And then the recognition, constantly recognizing planned giving donors and finding the right way to recognize each one of them. That's your plan: involvement, education, selection, and recognition. And then that knowledge is the fourth pillar of, and that is not so much understanding how a charitable remainder flip trust works, but it means knowing where the right people are with the information, and that makes you look good, because you're only as strong as the weakest person around you, right? So you want to keep the right people around you, so you've got that information and you can connect people with the right people. So those are the four pillars of a successful planned giving program. And it's great to have all of that, but then you also have to have internally, your organization needs some things. You need solid leadership. So that when people are looking at your organization, if they're going to give you their Berkshire Hathaway stock, they want to make sure that you've got the right people deciding how that is going to be spent, that it's going to be invested the way they want it invested, or that your leadership is not one that's going to take it and go to Hawaii for a board meeting, but definitely knowing that your leadership is strong, you have a strong history, that you are known in your community, and these are your loyal donors that you're talking to. They want to make sure that they know you, they love you, they want to make sure that what has happened in the past will continue into the future. Might look a little different, but at least they know that this organization is always going to be here serving this community, and that's important. They want to make sure you get to your future. And financially sound. It's important that when people ask you what you're doing, how you're doing financially, to have that information and be able to show them that You're not out looking for a planned gift to pay down debt. And then when that gets taken care of, then you're going to have more debt, create more debt, and then look for another planned gift. But definitely that you've got the plans for the future and that you are fiscally sound and handling your funds in the right way. And having that endowment fund also, I was with a YMCA that was brand new in a community that was being built outside of Chicago. And we had to show them that we were committed to being there for a long period of time. So having that endowment fund tells people we're committed to be here. We're not waiting for this to go away. We're going to be around for a long time. And you have to have dreams for the future. So I know you're going to hear from people locally, but I worked with an organization and they were founded with a sunset. They were going to stop functioning on a specific year, and then the city was going to take over the arts and entertainment that they were created to do. And it's like, why are you even doing endowment work when you've got a sunset year? So you have to have those dreams for the future, and then know if you do have an endowment fund, where does that future go, and how does that endowment fund take you to that future? And then most importantly, you have to have loyal supporters. So a lot of organizations want to jump right into planned giving, and unfortunately they're grant funded, government funded, and very few supporters. So what we look at is, when I say a loyal supporter, I'm not just talking about people who give you money. I'm talking about people who give you their time, their talent, and their treasure. So who are those people who are around you? Another organization that I worked with that had docents, and they never asked the docents for money because they felt like they were already giving to that organization. And they were shocked to find out that these docents were willing to not only give today, but they were willing to consider a bequest in their long-range plans. So never underestimate the people right in front of you. A lot of times we tend to look beyond that. So those are some of the things that we need to have a successful program. This is very much it's staff-led but volunteer-driven, a planned giving program. And there are different components of the program that we bring to organizations. There are roles, very specific roles for staff, and from admin to donor relations, and how to track and follow our supporters. And then they also are liaisons between the organization and the volunteers. Volunteers play 3 major roles. There are connectors. They are our advisors in gift acceptance. And then they are also what I call an investment committee, but most of the time they are people that are liaisons between the community foundation and their board. So when they go to a community foundation meeting and they're talking financial speak, they can come back and speak it in English for the rest of the board to understand. And then if they have their own investment portfolio, they're helping with that. And then of course the loyal supporters. And so we work closely with staff, volunteers, and loyal supporters in helping you in a way that makes sense for you. In the past, back in the day, I always say, we would come in and we were the expert, and everyone thought, ooh, the experts are coming in from out of town. And we would say to the staff, what do you want us to say? And then we would say it, and it would be gold, even though they've been saying it for a while. But we would come in and we would meet with donors, and things have shifted to where staff are and want to be, and rightfully so, are the experts. And so we work and coach and And I call it personal training for the development person, so that we're in their ear, but they're saying it. And people love to hear that, rather than saying, well, let me call that consultant that I met with. They're calling you, and we're working together on that. So we have an online program that we do. I'm not that far. I'm in Orange County, so it's not like I'm light years away. I'm not in Chicago. And we're always willing to come in and visit with you. So please know that. But we usually start with an initial consultation, and we have educational webinars where you can invite your staff and volunteers, and as many as you want, to the educational webinar. The educational webinar is really about how to get organized in the different steps that you need to have for a successful program. And for one organization, the webinar may be at a different level. It may be a beginner entry level, but it may be the final step for some people. And we're talking differently on how to achieve the things they're wanting to achieve by having individualized coaching sessions where we sit down with you and go, okay, here's where you are as an organization. Here's where you want to be. How do we get from here to there? And what do you need? I come to organizations not with a box that they have to fit in to do everything right, but I come with a box of tools, and we unpack our tools and we decide what tools make sense for your organization. How do we implement and use these tools for your organization? And what is the messaging we want for your organization? And then we also have what I call the peer-to-peer sessions. And they're really where staff join on, and we talk. And we talk about our successes, and we talk about our challenges. And it's kind of nice to hear the successes that people have, but it's also nice to hear that everyone is in the same boat, and that we are all being challenged with the same thing, and we're all trying to do these things. How do we do that? And the biggest thing that comes out of these, especially in one community, is how do we do this in one community and not bump into each other? And the good news is every donor has organizations in their heart. And if you're in their heart and they are supporting you, and there's also supporting another organization, they might hear from the other organization that they can include that organization in these ways with a planned gift. If we don't tell them that they can also include your organization, they won't know they can. And it's so funny how donors will say to me, you know, at USC, I can do this, but I can't do that here. And it's like, oh yeah, you can, please. We want you to spread the wealth. They want to spread the wealth, but they don't know how to do it. So it's up to us to tell them. I just want to say one more thing about getting ready for a planned giving program. It's kind of like being ready to have kids, or being ready to get married, or being ready to do anything big. If you wait until you check all the boxes that you need to have, you're never going to be ready, because you're always going to be preparing to be ready. So if you've got most of this in place, and you know you have loyal supporters, and you feel like you're ready, then you're ready. And at least you're not like with a child, you're not kept up all night with a child, but with planned giving, you won't be, I promise you. So our value comes, like I said, from our experienced specialists, and we managing relationships and applying unique gifting programs to create these breakthrough results. So we have a program, and I know you're going to be getting that information. It's basically what I just told you. It's every other month is an educational webinar where everyone will participate, and then online personal training for each organization on the other months, solely for your organization, no other. And then we have the peer-to-peer sessions where we can share our successes and our challenges. And I am available. I always tell people, I set these schedules so that you've got time to do things. And a lot of times people say, well, I'm not sure how much time I should put into it. Figure out how much time you have available to put into this program. We work it backwards, and then we say, these are the things that you can do. So I know there'll be more information coming on how to do that, but this is the program that we have. And I want you, and I know you're going to send out my contact information, but this is really a program that I think if you've got loyal supporters and you've got a good, solid in credibility and reputation in your community, then and if you are invited to this, I'm sure that you are probably ready to do plan giving. But know that being ready is step one. They always say, if you want to walk on water, you have to be able to step out of the boat. So here we go, ready for that first step. So please feel free to call me, and I'm happy to talk to you about the structure, the pieces, the tools, anything that can help you be successful. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. I'm gonna hit pause here for a quick moment and see if there are any questions for the group. You're welcome to put them in the chat. You're also welcome to take yourself off mute. We've had a few more of our colleagues join us. I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see a few more of you, but a quick reminder that we'll also be sharing all the slides with everyone in the post event along with the recording. Any questions for Sue about the programming, about getting started, about where you all are? So just to recap, the Ventura County Community Foundation has gifted our community with this opportunity to work with Endowment Horizons. Starting in the fall, we'll be recruiting a cohort of about 10 to 12 organizations based on an application process. This is not so dissimilar to the Plan Giving initiative that VCCF hosted wow, a long time ago. I'm not putting numbers to that because that makes me feel really old. But very similarly, a cohort-driven peer support, access to expertise so that we don't all have to be experts in all those ways and places. But again, on the Transfer of Wealth homepage on the VCCF page is all of Sue's contact information for questions if you're interested in learning a little bit more about your readiness. Vanessa, anything you'd like to add?
It's so interesting. We've been volunteering to do this, as time permits, because, we're obviously a small team. But what I have been really excited about, and we've now done this for 5 nonprofits, but we've helped look at some of the statistical data associated with their donor base, and going back in some cases to the inception of the nonprofit, looking at 20 and 30 plus years of donor giving, and really helping to look at that as a breakdown of different years. And in some instances, we've found more than 200 donors that have given every year to that organization over the history of their organization. But the actual dollar gifts sometimes are more modest, right? So $25, $50, $10, but every single year. And I think sometimes in our day-to-day work, it's hard to really keep tabs intellectually on all of our donors that have given and support our organization. And as especially as turnover or change happens in leadership, sometimes that history may not be known, especially for donors at that giving level. So one of the most eye-opening moments to me is really looking at those giving histories, doing that statistical analysis, and then turning and doing the analysis in the wealth engine, and really looking at the potential in terms of a planned giving program. And in some instances, what we've I feel like uncovered is 10 million to 50 million of potential just from those loyal supporters that right now in their life can't necessarily afford to make those really major gifts, but who have demonstrated a love and a loyalty and a passion for the organization, where I think that potential really is. I will say, I think as a collective, us working together will make us much stronger. And one of the examples of that is just the increase in designated fund creation that we're seeing from our donor clients and referrals that we're receiving. And a designated fund is when a donor says, you know what, I really want to give to this organization. And, we lost a really dear donor couple last year, and they actually set up 11 designated funds for nonprofit organizations. And I'll say that the majority of those nonprofits had no idea that they were actually going to be part of their estate plan. But we're seeing a real uptick in those designated funds. And most donors care more about life than just sometimes into one cause or one area. And I think when we partner together, we can really better support those donors in their, achieving their mission and their vision and hopes for a better world. So I just really want to say, Sue, I'm so grateful to partner with you on this. It's just really an opportunity I think we can really collectively build on. And if you're interested in talking about some of these other, analysis, I would love it. I mean, in some instances, we've actually, analyzed a database of 46,000 donors. So it's just, we really have an unbelievable amount of opportunity at the local level to really lift this up, but I know we'll do a much better job together. And I see.
Yeah. So really quickly, Vanessa, there's just a clarifying question. Is that the same as a donor advised fund, or is a designated fund a simpler version of that?
It's just another fund type. And I mean, this is really quite a fascinating thing. And we actually have more designated funds, I believe, than donor advised funds. So a designated fund is when a donor is creating sometimes it's an endowment fund, sometimes it's a different type of fund, it's a pass-through fund, but it's when a donor has earmarked specifically to a particular nonprofit. And so we have a lot of designated funds. So donors that, care, like Stacy, about interface, and they say, I would like to create a designated fund for interface. Or, when I pass away, I'd like to create a permanent designated endowment fund for interface that will go on into perpetuity. And we have a lot of funds like that. And really, quite frankly, it's one of the most popular fund choices, especially in the plan giving space.
Sure. So Sue, I think you popped your question in the chat box, but why don't you unmute yourself and you go ahead and ask the question to Sue.
Okay.
Sue to Sue.
Yes, hi. My nonprofit group has been around for 60 years, but we've never had a donor database. We have done fundraising in a different way. And now we are approaching beginning a donor database. And I'm just wondering, with this cohort group that you're starting, would an all volunteer organization at the stage we're at be eligible to apply?
Vanessa, I know would know that better, but I will tell you that we work with Assistance League, which is an all volunteer base. We just work with them to make sure that there is a volunteer that is the key leader that takes on staff roles, because if everyone is doing it, no one is doing it. So when it comes to the database, you want to make sure that at least someone is designated to be in charge of that database. But, the loyal supporters are your volunteers as well. So yeah, and we do pretty well with the assistance leagues that we work with, and Charlotte works with them, but they do pretty well. Yeah,
I would agree completely, Sue, with that answer. I would also say that one of the biggest things that I think people should kind of consider as we think about prioritizing plan giving is, how stressed am I about making payroll or covering my operating costs over the next month? And when that's an extreme level of stress, right, that is not the right time to set up a plan giving program, mainly just because it takes time and energy away from that immediate crisis. But for organizations at any size, in any scale, can always have a really robust plan giving program because it really comes to the heart of the people that are really, the life and blood of that organization. And that can be, board members, volunteer members, donors. And I really, would not say size is really the measure of readiness. I think most of the time it's really the ability to say, yes, I can carve that out. And when I'm talking to people who are our life supporters, is my entire attention in this saving or rescue mode? And when that's really the mindset, that would not be the right time. So I think that I always look for a reserve, kind of a contingency reserve as really a benchmark for readiness. But that can be different for every size of organization, including organizations that are totally volunteer driven. I also will say, religious organizations have a great opportunity for the plan giving space. We've seen huge success there. Also in like Rotary clubs. Look at how many Rotary clubs that have no professional staff that end up having over time really robust plan giving programs. So please don't hesitate to apply based on being a volunteer driven organization.
Thank you.
Any last questions before I welcome our panel? Okay, I'm going to jump in. So Stanley, I'm going to pick on you because I saw a lot of nodding. I think that is lived experience, my friend. So I'm going to transition and just extend a very heartfelt thanks to Sue. I was watching everyone nodding their head throughout her presentation, and then I'm joined now by 3 of our community's nonprofit leaders, development professionals who represent 3 really important organizations in our region. I'm joined today by Stanley Zaskoff, who's the donor relations manager with Cause, and Aaron Campbell from Ventura Botanic Garden. And rounding out today's discussion is Andrew Peak with the Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard and Port Hueneme. And the reason that we added a panel, which we're hoping to do throughout the plan giving program, is to invite our colleagues, our peers, and our friends to reflect on how hard this work really is, as well as you can get started too. This is how we did it. This is how we're surviving. This is how we're optimizing our resources. This is just doing by modeling. So Stanley, I'd love to start off with you. I'd love for you to introduce yourself a little to the group, but also what resonated about Sue's presentation in terms of your experience in the plan giving space thus far.
Well, thank you again for the invite. It's nice to be in community with you all on this very wonky but important subject. I'm Stanley Tenkoff. I work at Cause, as Dina mentioned. We're a base building organization. We work on social, economic, and environmental justice issues in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. And we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. And it's just now that we're really starting in earnest in launching our plan giving program. And so it's a really exciting time to be co-creating, building out this program. And one of the things that really stood out to me, which gave me reassurance in terms of us embarking on this now, is that so much of the groundwork that needs to be there to be ready to step off of that boat, to walk on water, right? Is that deep trust and community among your donor base, your supporters, that engagement from people who have been there from the very beginning or maybe before that. And so that gives me, I know that, I'm fortunate to work for an organization that has that's been working really, really hard on that. And I also think the solid leadership piece of it really stood out to me. We're a bigger staff than we've ever been, but I know that we've...
One of the conversations several years ago, it was very nerve-wracking and you worry about it, but they're always wonderful conversations that end in really reflectful and great gifts. So look forward to these.
There's the adage that, it's not the first organization that mentions planned giving that gets in the donor's estate plan, but the last organization. So just make these regular conversations with your donors. It doesn't, don't put a lot of weight to it. Just say like, this is important for the donor to realize their philanthropic vision, right? That's the world that they want to create. So we, as fundraisers, are giving them that opportunity to act on their deeply held values and beliefs. So I think that's a really special role that we get to play that not many people get to do. So.
Fantastic. Thanks, Aaron. And Stanley, you get the first word and the last word, my friend.
Well, I think it's important to remember, as with all fundraising, that this is really about creating partnerships with, there are opportunities for all parties involved. It's the organization that benefits, but it's also the donor, as Aaron just mentioned. And just going back to kind of meeting people where they're at and where you're at, both the organization, the donor. Not everyone has the same understanding of these concepts, the vehicles, all these different things. And so I think, having a little bit of grace and different opportunities to meet both your staff, your board, your donors, different places is really important. And then just think about like shared values and vision for the future. I think there's a lot there that can just start a conversation or continue a conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you all three for joining us today in this important conversation. Really appreciate your insights. I'm going to go ahead and remove all these pins so we can see everyone. And in closing, I'm going to also, Nate Swanson has shared in the chat box the link to the Transfer of Wealth homepage on VCCF's webpage. And this is going to be the portal where you're going to find the application process to participate in this year-long process with Sue and her colleagues at Endowment Horizons. The Center for Nonprofit Leadership will be co-convening that with the Community Foundation. We'll also be listening. So even if you're not selected for that program, we'll be building additional community access programs for those who might not have been ready yet, or weren't selected in this round, but need to get a little bit more ready. So be sure to take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly, and I'll just show you what it looks like. We're going to be opening up the, well, I'm not opening up the right screen here. Here we go. So this is, can everybody see the Transfer of Wealth webpage? Okay, so right here, top, right big orange button, access the application. I always believe that these applications are also a time to be really self-reflective about whether or not we have the right ingredients at this moment to take advantage of this opportunity. And there's no harm and no foul if you're not ready, but the application is now live. We're going to be receiving applications until the end of August and then making a determination for a start in the fall. You'll see right here, Sue's contact information, both her email and her telephone number are right top and center, so that if you have any questions about what does it mean to participate, who needs to be on our team, am I ready, any kind of questions like that, you're welcome to pose them to her, to us. We can definitely get those answered. But I strongly encourage everyone to take a peek at this incredible resource that VCCF is making available to our community. And we'll also be sending out some reminders. This is going to be in a few e-newsletters, so we'll be open to the general community as well. So if you're affiliated with other organizations not represented today and you think this might be a good fit for them, we invite you to join us in spreading the word widely. So I'm going to go ahead and close up. I'll leave a little bit of time for some conversation and some questions should anybody have any. Big thanks to Sue and our panelists, Stanley, Aaron, and Andrew, as always, to VCCF for being a great partner in catalyzing philanthropy in our region, and to all of you for the important work that you do every single day. I hope you have a great rest of the summer and good fortune applying for this incredible program.
Thank you so much, Dina. My goodness.